Hello everyone, I just wanted to start off by saying thank you for helping us reach 100 subscribers, which is our first milestone. I know we've been gone for a little bit. I've got to be honest with you, Wheel of Cheese pretty much killed me. But we're back with a new video, so let's get stuck in.
We're tiny, we're toony, we're all a little loony.
I think most of us are very passionate about cartoons from our childhood, and today we're going to touch on one of the very best, Tiny Toons Adventures. Tiny Toon Adventures first screened in 1990 and focused on a group of early teenage Looney Tunes characters. It was well written and hilariously funny. It was so amazing that I just have absolutely no idea why it got cancelled.
Alright. Bottoms up. Now you. Look. Blue?
Wow. I'm joking clearly. Tiny Toons was cancelled as focus shifted to Animaniacs. Now for my first controversial statement of the video, I have no idea why, because I thought Animaniacs was crap. But at least we got Pinky in the brain though, so every cloud. Today we're going to be touching on a game that I almost added to my collection, but decided not to. Tiny Toons Adventures, Buster Busts Loose. As mentioned in previous videos, when I was growing up, my video game bible was the magazine Total. And Buster Busts Loose was reviewed with a good, but not quite good enough, 87%. 87% sounds massive, but what you got to remember is back in those days and with limited money, you were either 90% or you were nothing. To show what a high bar 90% is, here's the Legend of Zelda, considered one of the best games ever on the NES, with a score of 78%. And to keep the controversy going, I actually kind of agree with them, but that's a video for another time. Now let's go on to the game. Bearing in mind this is the 16-bit SNES, I think this is a graphical triumph. The characters, enemies and backgrounds look great and totally in keeping with the cartoon. Music too is a joy to behold, switching between fantastic versions of the main theme and unique tracks that are right up there with any platform game of its genre. Aesthetically, this game is one of the strongest on the system, so far so good. But what's going to make you stand out? I mean, in the 90s, you're looking at heavyweights like Sonic and Mario, and then the undescript platformers like Zool and Bubsy the Bobcat. What's really going to make this game stand out? At this point in time, another platformer on the system would have been about as welcome as Vladimir Putin at a NATO picnic. So the big gimmick in Buster Busts Loose is running? Well, wait a minute, I hear you say. I mean, Sonic involved running, and yes it did, but this game takes it to a different dimension, man. Buster can use this running ability to run vertically up walls, which on one hand creates a whole range of hidden areas and obstacles that you can clear, but on the downside it can make Buster completely uncontrollable, and I've got two prime examples of this. Firstly in the Wild West section that relies on you running really fast. In this section you get told to run, so you do, and you die, and you die, and you die. I mean, come on, what is this shit? I started to think this part was impassable, but then I also knew that people speedran the game, so it had to be possible in some way, so I weakened and looked it up. Do you know what it was? You need to run at the point where you're level with Wile E. Coyote. But you told me to run! Why would I wait? Especially for a character renowned for falling off cliffs. Also, apparently, Buster running on the ground is quicker than him falling through the air, which breaks the laws of physics. But I'm just being grumpy. Also, running is fine, jumping is fine, it's just when you need to combine the two together, that's when things can really fall apart. In level 5 you reach a section which is akin to the end of Metroid, where the world is falling apart but with the added pressure of it being an auto-scroller. In an early section you have to run up a wall, jump off a wall, and then jump and run up the other side, and this drove me berserk. You can often press the jump button only to be ignored, and with a pip below and the auto-scroller rising, you can expect to plummet to your doom more often than not. Outside of your run button you have your attack, which is basically Guile from Street Fighter 2's Flash Kick. And don't tell me you don't want to see a Guile and Buster Bunny buddy movie. You also have a slide which, to be honest, isn't used as much as it could have been outside of the first level and the American football game you'll play later on. I have one other problem outside of the running mechanic that I really need to discuss. This stupid vampire guy in the third level. Unless you gain pleasure in losing health and lives, don't bother engaging him. He's an asshole. It may sound like I'm being really down on this game, but for all the irritations that I've listed, by God does it get some things right. Level 1 does what it's supposed to do to ease you in, with some basic platforming and beating up nondescript enemies. Level 2, on the other hand, ramps it up massively. In fact, I don't understand why it is level 2, because it's easily the hardest and longest level of the whole game. I do love that on the intro screen to level 2, they start telling you the controls of the game. How would I have got here in the first place if I didn't know how to dash? Auto-scroll sections, pinpoint jumping, mini-bosses, and very little room for error. If you make it past this level, you've got a reason to be happy. There may only be 6 levels, but the variety of the levels is excellent. Level 3 is the Haunted House, and the first section is just about avoiding Casper the not-so-friendly ghost and his buddies before negotiating a fairly simple spring section. Once you pass that, you've literally got to avoid the aforementioned Asshocula, and then you're a few springy platforms away from the end of the level. Pretty easy, but the boss at the end at least puts up a fight where you have to kick the nuts it throws at you to break the computer controlling it. Smart battle. I liked it. Now the game turns completely on its head and turns into a sports simulator? The task is simple. You need to score a touchdown in an American football game to complete the level, and you're given 2 options to do it. Run and pass. And here's a major tip for you. Never, ever pass the ball. You will never make it. So with passing out of the equation, you have to run and then work out whether to jump or slide to try and get all the way up the pitch. Really easy, but a lot of good fun, and it breaks up the game nicely. Level 5 after level 1 is one of the easiest sections of the game until the end. Jump on some balloons, jump over some balloons, fend off some birds, it's not difficult. After that, the game again ups the random variety and throws you into a pinball game. Again, you won't really struggle with this, but it's pretty fun. And I'm glad it's fun because it ends with that stupid Metroid section. Just make sure you take a heck of a lot of lives with you. So now it's time for the final level, and we're heading into Star Wars parody territory. Well, mixed with bomb-throwing Terminators, of course. There's nothing overly complicated here. Grab a key at the top, and then there's a fantastic section where you need to shield yourself behind objects to avoid incoming blasts. In this wall-running section, you have to pick between the hard course and the easy course. I'll just take easy. There's a somewhat testing battle with some crossing balls, no jokes please, and you reach the final showdown with Duck Vader. Interesting fact I found out during this battle. Apparently, spin kicks are invulnerable to massive, large, killing death rays. Could be quite useful the way the world's going. Final boss involves you knocking Duck Vader off his gun and then directing the gun to shoot him using your kick. Fairly straightforward, and now the game is done. Something I haven't mentioned is in between each one of these levels is one of 5 mini-games which always gives you more lives than you need, but they are a little bit of fun and add to the game overall. Well, apart from this squash game which is crap, but then Furball is unlucky after all. However, Maze, Go-Go Bingo, Seesaw and Junction are all simple, fun and inoffensive. So you've got great graphics, great sound, it's really funny, there's loads of variety, there's loads of mini-games. There really is only one problem. I honestly think if the game had 4 more levels, we'd be staring down the barrel of an absolute classic. But as it is, it's probably too short. So we're total right with 87%? They were probably bang on. That said, it's well worth picking up and playing. I have had an absolute blast with it. There is one more important thing to mention though. Remember in episode 6 of I May Be Crap at Video Games where I explained that we didn't get the real Super Mario 2 outside of Japan because it was deemed too hard for us? Well, the Japanese version of Buster Bust Loose doesn't even have a hard mode. Ha! Who's the wusses now, Japan? In your face! That's all, folks.
That's all, folks.